gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Do I know what's going to happen? No, I'll guess. But
We win one tomorrow. That's called a winning streak.
Alright, I'm not a fucking athlete. This is my fucking way. This is how I win.
adapt or die.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome into another episode of the A+ Sports League podcast, playoff edition. We're going to pick all the playoff games Saturday and Sunday. We took a little break here for Week 17, but we did make our picks. We will review those later. We have a special guest this week. With me, as always, I have Matt Livinati, Nick Cometa, and special guest picker Chris O'Neill from the Golf Podcast joining us today. What's happening, guys?
It's the crossover event that nobody asked for.
Yeah, happy to be here. We're talking about football instead of golf for once, although this is the kickoff of the golf season.
It is to kick off the golf season. We will have a golf episode for you next week, but for this week, we are going to focus on playoff football.
Yeah, kick off all the playoffs.
Oh, speaking of playoffs, who won our fantasy playoff league?
I don't know.
I think the champion is also the host of the podcast. Is that true?
Not my champion.
Just have to. I mean, we felt bad. Matt and I have won. Just gave you this one.
Yeah. Says the guy who was knocked out in the first round, the other guy who didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, first round didn't go what I expected. Second round, phenomenal. I had the matchups for week
15. Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at. I set my team up for week 15. I should have set it up for week 14. Miscalculation.
So I ended up beating Danny in the playoffs. I took home the trophy. 4th year in the league. And next year, we will actually have Mr. Chris O'Neill in the A+ league. So
Yeah, it's going to be the Lee Kennedy merger of 2021. It's going to be chaos. We'll all try to figure out where all the seedings and divisions go, but couldn't be more excited.
hearts will be broken, fights will be had, and we'll eventually have our league.
And I'm excited to see what trades happen next week.
There's going to be a hard line down the middle of the
We all
hallway.
have to bill for Tyler Lockett Montgomery trade. That David Montgomery was the key. Best player in the playoffs.
Well, even Josh Allen.
Josh Allen and Montgomery had the highest points in the playoffs. So what?
He's Nostradamus. He figured it out.
In their positions, that's crazy. I mean, besides Kamara's 50, whatever points.
All right. Well, I think we should just jump right into the football lines here for the playoff edition of this week's podcast.
Oh, I thought there's another champ of the season.
Oh, that's right. We got a review
against
first.
the
Sorry.
spread. Winner by one game, Livinati?
Well done.
To review our records for the regular season picks. Now, granted, we started week 8. So we didn't pick the first 7 weeks. But from week 8 on, we have our champion of Nick at a wonderful 66-79 on the season for 45% right on the pick.
45.5 rounds up
to 46. Ah, there we go.
Okay, just give me that.
And then me and Liv both tied at 65 and 80, one game behind Nick. So, Nick, you are the
And
regular
immediately, we were only at 45%. He was at 46. So it's, yeah. Well done, Nick. Deserved.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to hear.
As for the A+ locks this year, Nick somehow went 6 and 7 because he started going rogue and picking 2 or 3 games a week. But Nick went 6 and 7, Liv went 5 and 5, I went 6 and 4 to lead the way. And when it came to over/unders, it was the opposite. Nick went 5 and 4 to lead the way. Me and Liv both at 3 and 5. So those are our picks and locks for the year. Not great. You should probably just fade whatever we're picking today, and you will make plenty of money.
I mean, slightly more.
50.
I mean, it's not that bad.
55% like what you aim for.
Yeah.
And so if you fade us, it's hitting 55%.
But it's all changing this week. It's all changing with the playoffs. We got a guest picker.
We get hot in the playoffs.
Ooh, I got to see what we got for props. I haven't even looked at props yet.
No, I did not.
I don't even know who's in.
Well, we'll take a peek. But let's just dive into the Saturday slate of games. First game we have is the Indianapolis Colts at the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are favored 6.5 points at home in what might be a snow bowl, but we'll see. Over-unders 51 points. Nick, lead us off.
I'm gonna sound like you, Bird, and
Oh boy.
I actually like the Colts.
Woo!
I think this is one of, I've said this across the office today. I think the Colts have a chance to upset the Bills. I think the Bills are potentially going to somehow flunder their way. I mean,
Flunder?
whatever is
English on this podcast.
I think they're going to fuck up. I think they're going to put up a dud in the playoffs. I don't know if this Bills team is ready for what the playoffs have. I could be wrong with what they have with Diggs, but the Colts, with their defense, which is better than the Bills, and their run game, which is better than the Bills, in a snow-type game, I like the Colts to sneak out maybe a win, but probably lose by a field goal.
Before you guys start burying this narrative, I just pulled up the forecast for Buffalo, New York. 35 degrees, 0% precipitation, 7-mile-an-hour wind. It's going to be perfect out there.
Okay, so whatever it makes sense. I still think that the Bills.
Early in the week, the weather looked like it was going to be in the 20s and decent chance of rain or snow.
Well, either way, I like the Colts for the same reasons I just said. Better defense, better run attack in playoff football. I think they can move the ball, control the clock, and make this a close game. Bills and the points. Colts.
I agree with a lot of that, and I'm taking the Colts here as well. I think this is too many points. I already teased down earlier in the week the Bills and taking them at pick'em, and I think that they're going to win outright, but I just think that this is going to be a 3, 4, 5-point game.
Wow, look at the number I did on you guys. All I do is I throw out a few key stats about the Colts, and all of a sudden everybody's on the Colts. Jeez, Chris, well, you're impartial to this. What do you think?
I think Buffalo's going to smoke them. I don't think it's going to be close. I think the 6.5 isn't going to be enough. I think that the Bills, sneaky, have one of the best offenses in the NFL. They put up a good amount of points. Josh Allen's firing on all cylinders. They haven't figured out who their lead back is, but when they want to run the ball, they can. They have the threat there on offense with Diggs, obviously. Cole Beasley's catching a ton of passes. They got tight ends that are firing. I think that this is going to be a 10 or 12-point game. I like the Bills easy in this, and I like the over.
Wow.
I do love that over.
Someone's finally on the Bills. So the only thing I mentioned early in the week is that the Colts are missing their starting left tackle. He's out for the year, so the offensive line will be a little shaken up. But I'm still on the Phillip Rivers train. I think the old man's got one last run in him. I think that
before Wentz takes over next year?
Yeah, hey, this is probably going to be his last season. Might be his last game if they lose. But when I looked at the stats for teams against the run in the playoffs, of all the teams that are in the playoffs right now, the Bills are the worst one by far. And Jonathan Taylor over the last few weeks has looked like a monster.
Yep.
The Colts will own the line of scrimmage and just keep pushing them. I think this is actually going to be a pretty low-scoring game. I know the Bills are going to try to air it out, but I think Frank Wright will come up with a good plan to kind of make sure no deep plays happen and play underneath. And then you've got Buckner who's going to rush the passer, and Leonard can cover any of those short routes that are out there, the crossing routes, the tight end curls, all those things. So I just think the Bills will probably win this game. Like Liv said, I do like the teaser, but I'll take the Colts plus 6.5.
Yeah, both these teams play like the similar style, but I just like the in playoff football, I like the defense and the run game. That's all I like.
Yeah. And something that's huge. Diggs is still questionable. It seems like he's going to play, but he didn't practice yesterday. It's just something to keep an eye on. So.
Who is it?
Diggs.
Oh.
Yeah, Diggs might be limited, but he looked fine last time he played, so I'm sure he'll be okay. But
start off great, Chris, against us. The only one.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to start off 1-0 at 1 o'clock. So I'm looking at some of at the Colts schedule this year, and they only lost one game by less than a touchdown. So I feel like if they're off, if they're losing, they're not going to be able to keep it close, especially down the end. Maybe they're not covering these games. But the only ones they kept close was the one 2 weeks ago against the Steelers. They only lost by 4. That was a comeback down the end. But by the Steelers, I don't know. I don't like the Colts. I don't think if they're losing this game, they're gonna have the willpower to keep it close.
If they're down, I agree. If they're down early, the big play item for the Colts offense is T.Y. Hilton. He'll probably be shadowed by Tre'Davious White. So if they get down big, it's going to be hard to really get back into the game. But the hope is with that defense, they can at least keep it a tit for tat.
Yeah, I think they just keep it low scoring. They control the clock.
But
I'm glad we're all in agreement.
We'll see. I don't like that it's in Buffalo. And the fact that it's going to be a cold outdoor game.
Mr. San Diego and Mr. Jones outside.
I like it in Buffalo. I think in the Colts it becomes a track meet, and the Colts can't. The Bills can't.
Little trivia. I think Matt might know the answer to this. When was the last time Phillip Rivers played a playoff game in the Northeast?
It was lost to the New England Patriots, 56 to 20 something.
Yeah, I mean he had a great fourth quarter. I think he had a couple of touchdown passes.
I mean, it's not Phillip Rivers' fault they gave up 56 points.
I believe that was the last playoff game.
Okay, it's a new
division. There's going to be 7,000 fans allowed at the Bills game too, so that was
going to be one of my questions. Yeah.
Yep, the Mafia is going to be there. I'm all Bills. Let's go Bills.
Two tables we've broken from the 7,000 fans.
I think it's too many people on.
Yeah. The line hasn't moved, which I'm surprised at because the public is betting on the Bills, but the line hasn't moved, which means money's coming in on the Colts. So
yeah.
We'll see. We'll see if the public's right. All right, let's go to the next game. We have a nice little division matchup between the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are favored 3.5 points at home. Over-unders at 42.5. The big news here is that Goff is injured and could play, but likely not to play. So with that, Chris, what do you think? You can lead it off.
I got a ham on the home team here. I love the Seahawks. I think that it will be a low-scoring game. I feel like it's going to be close. It's going to come down to a couple of plays that are being made, but DK Metcalf's going to be shadowed the entire time. I feel like he's going to have a pretty poor game. If you're a DFS player, I love Tyler Lockett this week. I feel like second receiver usually tends to do pretty well against the Rams. And I don't know if they're going to have enough to keep it going on the offense, especially with that question mark with Goff. I like the Seahawks here. As far as the over-under, I don't feel strongly either way. I guess if I had to choose, I would probably go with the under on this one, just because I feel like both teams have pretty strong defenses. You're going to be in Seattle with this, and the Rams defense can neutralize a little bit of the Seattle Seahawks passing game.
Go ahead, Lebanon.
I tend to agree with a lot of what Chris said. I think that these teams have already faced each other twice this year. I think John Wolford is better than I had expected, and I heard a lot of people talking praise with him before he even started. He's a decent game manager, but I just tend to think that this Seahawks offense is going to figure out what the hell their actual identity is, and like they still have a core of a playoff team that has a lot of experience. And I just think that they're going to be able to put some pieces together and win by more than a field goal.
Go ahead.
Okay. I really think that the Seahawks will be able to handle the Rams offense. Second half of the season, the Seahawks defense was much better than the first half when they were giving up points like crazy. They got the run game back with Carson. Lockett and Metcalf are there. Russell Wilson's had a great season. But give me the Rams. I'm going with the Rams. I just think that Sean McVay is going to dive deep into the playbook to pull out whatever he can. These teams split this year. I mean, they know each other very well. I think Pete Carroll will get his guys going, and I think that they might win the game. But to cover the hook, I think the Rams can do it. They can shut down DK Metcalf, which basically means, hey, make sure Tyler Lockett doesn't get out of control because Jalen Ramsey's going to cover him. Aaron Donald can get to Wilson. I don't know. It could go either way. I don't love this game, but I'm going to take the points.
The more we talk about it, the more I'm more worried about the Rams' defenses clicking as of late. With how their pass rush has been working and how much they're leaning on the defense to make a stand. I mean, obviously the Jets game was a weird one. 3 points to the Patriots who have no offense. They lost 20-9 to the Seahawks 2 weeks ago.
It's the offense. I'm not worried about the defense. The defense hasn't been giving up shit. Defense has given up, for the Rams, 7, 20, 23, 28, 20. I mean, like, they are still holding people. It's the offense.
It's what I'm so worried about with the Seahawks and where are you going to get their offensive line? Because that offensive line has been
Seattle's?
Yeah. It's been brutal.
Yeah, it's never good. It's Wilson running for his life.
Yeah, Wilson running for his life. I think that they have too many targets. Even with Metcalf out, Lockett had a good game last week, getting back into the swing of things. Moore is still there. They have too many. When Wilson can throw it to all those types of guys. I think the Seahawks squeeze by here by 4. And that's what I'm going to say.
Okay.
It's just going to be. I like this as a teaser. I just don't like the Rams in a playoff game in Seattle. I don't like whoever Wofford.
What, teasing up the Rams or?
It's not teasing the Seahawks down. Or to plus
Season through 0. Bold move, Con. I'm actually curious if the Seahawks are going to have fans for this game. I would think no, because I feel like
I don't think they are.
But maybe they are. No in-person attendance allowed. Never mind, I found it. So, I mean, in Seattle means nothing to me then. Like, whoop-de-doo. Like, an empty stadium's an empty stadium, if you ask me. You got to travel, sure, but you're not changing time zones. You're just flying them.
What's the weather supposed to be like?
I mean, we can pull up the weather real quick, but the whole advantage that Seattle has when playing at home is that the stadium is designed in a way that it funnels so much noise onto the field that it disrupts an offense. So if you take that out, it's
45 and cloudy, but I mean, it's just the comfort of home. You're not traveling.
The only day it's not raining in Seattle is the day that the
Right,
game is
exactly.
The skies have opened for the Rams, but I mean, the Rams just have a good rushing attack. It's coming down to Goff. I honestly think it is, or whatever quarterback play happens. If it's Wofford, if it's Goff, but it's going to come down to the quarterback because you have Kupp, you have Woods, you have Higbee, Everett, you got the running backs there. The line has played better. I think they have all the pieces. It's really been quarterback play, I think. So
yeah,
Will they have Cooper Kupp?
Yeah, Cooper Kupp, they activated him.
They should be back from Frozen.
Okay, yeah, they activated him yesterday.
Yep. So he will be there. So this is probably going to be one of the more competitive games of the week for sure. And I think that's indicated by the line. So, okay, enough of that game. Let's jump over to the next game, which we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Washington Footballs. The spread is Footballs plus 8 points, over under 44.5. Limonati, kick it off.
I'm taking the Buccaneers here. 8 is a lot to lay, and I'd love to buy a point. But I just don't think that this Bucs offense is going to be able to put up a decent amount of points, and I just don't foresee a Washington offense potentially swapping out Alex Smith for Taylor Heineke throughout the game. I don't think they're going to be able to put up enough points against a pretty damn good defense in Tampa. I'm laying the 8.
Okay.
Are you kick it off?
No, I'm gonna kick it off to you guys.
You're gonna kick it off to us.
Yeah.
Tom Brady in the playoffs. Last we saw him kind of put up a dud against the Titans. Chris, you remember that game?
Yes, I do. So
Here he has some more weapons.
Wow. Do you remember that game where his team lost 28-3, Chris?
Yeah, so I'm very familiar with Tom Brady's first round of the playoff performances. You have instances where he'll drop 45 like against the Broncos and the Tim Tebow team, or against the Chargers a couple of years ago. Or you'll have times like the Titans game or the Ravens game in the divisional or wildcard round a few years ago when they got completely blown out. He's I don't know, I guess bipolar. He either brings his A game or he doesn't. Sometimes he struggles, and I like Washington's defense. They've been hot as of late, and I'm looking at the Bucs schedule. And outside of week 2 and week 3, week 2 they lost by 15, week 3 they lost by 14. Everything else has been a tight game, even the ones that they were on the wrong side of. Washington has a pretty strong defense. Ron Rivera is a heck of a coach. I'm looking at 1 point loss to the Giants. They had a 3-point loss to the Giants. They had a 3-point loss to the Lions. They've kept everything very tight, very low scoring, and I feel like they're a team that can give the Patriots or quarterback Tom Brady fits even when he's playing for the Bucs.
Yeah, I mean we said this. The worst thing about Tom Brady is a good pass rush.
And they got a few of the best.
When he's getting pressured, he has issues.
Getting there with 4, which Washington can do.
Yeah, the thing
Not
with
sending
Washington
extra guys.
is that they have too many. They don't have enough weapons in the secondary to cover the weapons from the Bucs. I don't think.
With that, yeah.
This is a Chris Godwin sort of game.
I'm going to go with the Bucs in the points. I think Washington's too inexperienced of a team. I think Brady has enough experience of understanding how to get the ball out quick to some of the greatest wide receivers we'll see with Antonio Brown, Gronk, and Evans, Godwin. It's one of the best receiving cores that you ever seen. He has good experience with Gronk, good experience with Brown. He's clicking with Evans and Godwin right now, so I don't see them stopping that weapons.
You're going to use one game last year as good experience with Antonio Brown compared to Gronk.
No, look at the last couple games this year with Antonio Brown.
Fair, but
the Falcons, but I mean
he has more passes thrown to Mike Evans than he does to Antonio Brown in his career.
I know that, but I'm saying that
you made it sound like Antonio Brown was playing with the Patriots for a decade.
I know that, but I'm saying they have too many weapons, and the defense is too good against this crappy Washington offense.
All right.
But even if Mike Evans is limited, they still have 2 other dominant receivers in Gronk.
Yeah, I think Mike Evans is really going to be a decoy more than anything. I mean, he'll play because he's his first playoff game since he's joined the Bucs, but I think he's going to be pretty much obsolete.
He's a gamer, I think.
And you're right, you do have weapons, but I was saying to you, the pass rush for Washington is real. Tom Brady's going to struggle with it. That said, Tristan Wirfs actually made the All-Pro team, I saw, or is in line to make the All-Pro team as a rookie for a tackle, which is pretty impressive. So who says he can't just stop Chase Young on his own for most of the game? Probably not all the game. I'm really on the fence on this one. I have Washington in the teaser at plus 14.5 because I don't think Tampa is going to run away with this. But the more you're talking, the more I'm thinking about it. Alex Smith is the thing that worries me. I just don't. If he doesn't play and it really looks like he's not going to, or even if he just gets hit one time by Ndamukong Suh and he's just done, like they're not going to put up points.
They can't put up points. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Like Gibson's even kind of banged up.
In the last 7 weeks of the season, though, the Washington football team hasn't given up more than 17 points in a game.
How many points have they scored in those games?
Let's see, 20, 41, 23, 23, 15, 13, and 20.
It's not very impressive. There's one in there that
All they have to do is keep it within 8. That's a lot of points. That's a score and a half. And then Tampa Bay's going to have no incentive in the fourth quarter.
You know what? Give me the Washington football.
Oh, look at me go. Talking them into it.
That's kind of where I was leaning anyway.
That's all right. I can't be up
Nick was talking me on
45% success rate.
I mean, here you go with some stats that I was going to wait till the end to say, and if anyone wants to change. But here we go. Wildcard weekend betting.
Is this the trivia?
No, this is not. The last 12 games, the underdog is 11-1 against the spread in the wildcard weekend. The under has hit 17 of the last 22 wildcard games. The Saints are 2-9 against the spread, since we're coming up on that game in the last 11 as home favorites. And the over has gone, the game has gone over 12 of the last 14 Steelers home games. Just a couple little jabs out there for you.
And you know what? As you're bringing that up, it's making me think about back to when the Saints lost to a 7-9 Seahawks team with Marshawn Lynch when he went crazy on them. And I also remember
Can you stop
an 8-8 Chargers team beating the shit out of Peyton Manning and the Colts.
So
honestly, I kind of like that.
Picked 3 underdogs right now.
Oh, did I? I'm taking all the points.
So that's when I started bringing that up, the way you were thinking. But hey, you never know. Trends seem to be broken at some point, but just a little heads up to everyone listening.
Playoff football is meant to be competitive. Give me a point.
a good point.
All right, well, that'll do it for the Saturday games. I guess we can jump over to Nick and trivia at this time.
We did it once before on a common theme in trivia is I like to do history and who has been the best in a certain time. So we're going to go off playoff best players of all time. So people that lead the stats in these following categories. Some of them will be easy, I think. Some of them will be hard. We'll start off with obviously an easy one, I think, in most games played by any player in the playoffs.
Tom Brady.
Jerry Rice. Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
For two. Yeah, okay. Tom Brady.
Shocker.
If you guys can get the second person, is going to be more. Tom Brady has 41 games in the playoffs by far. And if someone can get the guy in second, most games by any position player in the NFL history.
I think I know the answer to this, so I'll go last.
I have to think about it. I think it would be
SG. All right, I'm going to break the silence here. I've been with Steven Gostkowski.
He's on Gostkowski.
I was thinking Gostkowski or Vinatieri ran through my head, but I'm just going to go. I think you tried to throw us off by saying any position player. I'm still going to go like Joe Montana.
Joe Montana.
I'll go with Adam Vinatieri. That's a good one.
Vinatieri is actually number 2.
That went to my head.
Brady was 41, and Vinatieri was 32. Rice has 29, Gostkowski 28, and Peyton Manning and D.D. Lewis at 26.
Peyton Manning was the one in the back of my
So, all right, we got games now. Obviously, you guys want to go passing touchdowns and passing yards?
Sure. All time?
All time in the playoffs.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, right. Tom Brady's very easy.
Can we stop the Tom Brady one?
Okay, so we'll go. Tom Brady has 11,000 yards plus in 73 touchdowns. Leads by far. Manning has 7,000 with 40 touchdowns. Favre 58 yards.
He's winning by a whole season.
Yeah,
he's
he's winning by a lot over everyone. All right, we'll go off passing because no one really cares about that. Let's go with rushing yards and touchdowns. Playoff all time.
Emmitt Smith for rushing.
Emmitt Smith, Chris.
Is it the same
Tom
person for
Brady.
both?
It is the same. It is the same person for both.
Okay, so Emmitt Smith's my guess.
Yeah, I feel like you got to go Emmitt Smith. 3 times he played 3 playoff games in a row, leading rusher, stud.
Illuminati, anything?
I'll go Frank Gore just to be different.
And Gore, not even in the.
Not even on
I
the
know.
list. Emmitt
He's just
Smith
been
has the highest yards with 1,586, with 19 touchdowns. Franco Harris is in second with 1,556. Thurman Thomas with 1,442. Tony Dorsett with 1,383, and Marcus Allen with 1,347.
Wow, Cowboys, Steelers, and
now
Raiders.
we get
And the Bills.
Dorsett was my actual other guess.
So we'll go with something a little bit more interesting. I think everyone's going to get receiving touchdowns and yards all time
Jerry Rice.
with Jerry Rice. Can we go number 2 with touchdowns and receiving yards?
Number 2 receiving yards is Julian Edelman.
You're going to go Edelman. Who do you got?
Chris Carter.
Chris Carter. Lemonani. AJ Green. Who do you got?
Andre Johnson.
Andre Johnson. Not even close. It is Edelman with receiving yards. Rice has 2,245 yards in the playoffs all time. The closest person is not even close. It's Edelman at 1,442. Michael Irvin has 1,315. Cliff Branch at 1,289. And then, haven't heard this name in a while. Reggie Wayne has 1,254.
Marvin Harrison was on the
Now
chart.
let's go with touchdowns. Touchdowns, second in touchdowns. All time in the playoffs.
Receiving touchdowns?
Receiving touchdowns.
Rob Gronkowski.
Or does it have to be a receiver?
No, receiving touchdowns.
Receiving touchdowns.
Gronk.
You guys are going both Gronk? Venati?
Gronk makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good one. It is Gronk tied with 12 with John Stallworth.
Oh, duh.
A bunch of people tied Actually, I think he has 11.
Steve Largent.
Tied with 10, there's 5 people with Biletnikoff.
Biletnikoff? You get the award that goes to the best wide receiver in college football? Jesus Christ.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Okay.
Antonio Freeman, Randy Moss, Hines Ward, all with 10.
Nice.
And then catches, you guys are Rice with 151, Edelman with 118, Reggie Wynn with 93, and tied with fourth is 88 with Hines Ward and Wes Welker.
Oh, nice.
So there's some playoff leaders going into
things that won't even be touched.
Yeah.
Tom Brady can pad his. Yeah.
Tom Brady's extending his. No one else is really coming close. Gronk
can go solo second.
Pushes.
That's wild that Wes Welker's that high up there when he doesn't have a single Super Bowl. He came to Brady right in between all the Super Bowls and went with Peyton and left right before Peyton's Super Bowl.
Oh, he went to Super Bowls. He didn't win any.
I know, but that's just crazy that he's that high up there without a single ring.
Yeah, well, maybe he shouldn't drop one in the Super Bowl and he'd have one ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, Giselle.
All right, nice trivia, Nick. Not bad.
Leaders in offensive stats going into the playoffs. Little tidbit for everyone.
Well, this is a game that will have none of those players because the first game on our Sunday slate will be the Baltimore Ravens at the Tennessee Titans. Titans are getting 3.5 points at home. Over-unders at 54.5. We have no quarterback. We have 2 quarterbacks with next to no playoff experience, although they both had a nice shootout last year.
I think this is by far the best game of the weekend.
It could be. Probably will be.
Do you think there's a better, more anticipated matchup? I think these two teams.
But I was looking for the Browns Steelers until the COVID shit.
Yeah, and the Ravens-Titans right now is the tightest point spread and the highest over-under. So they expect a lot of points. They expect a tight game here. I think the Ravens have a lot to prove. I think the Tennessee defense blows. I haven't seen them stop anybody recently. I think that Lamar Jackson is going to have a field day. He's hit stride post-COVID. It took him a couple games to get his feet underneath him, but he's throwing the ball well. He's running well. Their entire offense is running well. J.K. Dobbins is finally the player that they thought they were getting when they drafted him. I think that the Ravens are hitting on all cylinders. I like laying the points here, and I'm going to take the Ravens.
So as much as I want to take the Ravens, their last freaking games have been against the Jaguars, the Giants, and the Bengals. Very crappy teams to go up into the playoffs, and the Cowboys too. No one really significant in that.
Cowboys aren't good?
And the Browns were in there, and
it's all part of a tune-up, though.
They had a good game against the Browns.
That's a 4-game preseason in anticipation of playing the Titans' shitty defense the first round of the playoffs.
They gave us 42 against the Browns. Last time they played the Titans, they lost in overtime at home. And then they, what did they do? Did they play them? No one played them.
They've only played one game.
Yeah. So, as much as I like the Ravens here, I'm going to take the Titans in a game that I don't like at all, but in the sense of the Titans took it to them last year, and it was a big. But I just don't think the offense of the Ravens is, as much as bad as the Titans' defense is. Actually, no.
Ravens last 5 games, 34, 47, 40, 27, 38. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're running. They're hitting stride. They're making plays. Last time they played the Titans, they lost in overtime by 6 points. I didn't see the Ravens offense perform like they've done the last 7 games.
I think this is going to be a field goal game with Justin Tucker at the end. So I don't like 3.5. But I'm going to take the
But you're on the Ravens.
I don't like the 3.5. It's going to come down to a field goal, but we'll give them the extra half point.
I'll go Titans. I'll go back to my
Can you make a
I'll go with my initial pick. I think it's going to be a field goal by Tucker that wins it.
This is every week. Week.
Hey, you have to talk it out. I don't understand. It's how people think. Talk it out. We think it over. My mind's just coming out of my mouth right now.
Well, Nick made his first pick to switch back of the year. He has done plenty of switches, but that's the first. So, okay.
Home underdog. Give me it.
Yeah, he's got the home underdog. Liv, you want to go? Or
I mean, Nick said a lot of it already. I do think that the Titans have the formula, a good formula to beat the Ravens with being able to run the ball, but their defense is so bad. It's just like when the Ravens are playing the Bengals, Cowboys, Jags, and Jets or Giants. But I just, the 3.5 scares me here too. I'm still laying the points with the Ravens as the away team. And fuck the Ravens, but.
Yeah, I sense some personal bias there. I'm going to be just straightforward with it. I think the Titans are going to win the game. I don't even think the spread doesn't even concern me. I think the Titans will pound the fucking ball with Henry, and I mean AJ Brown's a fucking monster. Like, good luck covering him. Corey Davis has looked pretty good towards the end of the year. Ryan Tannehill has some playoff experience now. Beat him last year, and I mean the Ravens.
Still really good running.
The Ravens have looked really good, and they got Dobbins more involved, which helps the running game. But at the same time, they're a team similar to the Colts that if they get down early, they're fucked. They're completely fucked because what are you going to do? Deep pass to Hollywood Brown who never catches a ball? I mean, and they have Mark Andrews. And after that, it's Willie fucking Snead and Dez Bryant. So I'm not really scared of the offense if they get down. So they definitely need to get out to an early lead. But even then, I think the Titans hang around, and if Ravens win by 3, then I cover. But I think the Titans win this outright, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just that the Ravens just have the weaker offense, and I don't like teams that have weak offenses in the playoffs because if something goes wrong, then they start scrambling, and it can't.
The Titans' defense is atrocious, so they will, even if Lamar throws a fucking wobbly ball, it will get caught eventually.
All you have to do is stop him on the run. You have to stop the read option and just take him out.
I just think Vrabel's going to be able to scheme him.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be one of those situations. He learned from Belichick. Belichick knows how to play Lamar. I think I don't know. We got a nice split on that.
Yeah.
And I'm keeping my theme of taking the underdog.
Yeah. And I just love Nick flip-flopping. I'm going to go with the offense. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go with that. You said at the beginning of the podcast that you like defense and running games. The Ravens have the least points allowed out of all the teams in the playoffs right now, and they have one of the best running games in a dynamic J.K. Dobbins and Lamar Jackson. You did say that, and now you're going against them. I love it. I absolutely love it. We have to get on to the Bears and Saints now, though, right?
Fun little fact I want to just throw in there. The Ravens are giving up 4.6 yards an attempt, which is 5th from the bottom in the league, and you're going up against a 2,000-yard rusher in Derrick Henry. So,
Ben, but don't break.
Maybe. We'll see. It will be the best game of the week by far. Get your popcorn, get your beers, be on your couch at 1 o'clock and watch some football.
I'm getting on my couch at 11 o'clock.
Well, even better. Okay, let's go to a less anticipated game. We have the Chicago Bears at the New Orleans Saints. Saints are minus 10.5. Over-under is set at 47. I'm going to lead off. I think it's the Saints by $1 billion. I don't think the Bears should even be in the fucking playoffs. I know they've played a lot better, and Mitch Trubisky has looked not like a complete fucking mess, but he's going up against an elite defense in the New Orleans Saints. Saints get all their running backs back, who got a nice little bye. Granted, they had COVID, but it was a little rest for them right before the playoffs. Drew Brees has also been pretty rested, and he's just getting back in the swing of things. Michael Thomas, I think, is back. You want to confirm that, Libinati? Do you know?
I will look at that. But, I mean, I think we might even be able to skip this game if we're just all going to be on the Saints. But
You returned the practice yesterday.
So he might be limited, but I think they have the weapons back. Emmanuel Sanders there, Jared Cook. I mean,
they proved a lot last week. I thought it was going to be a close game against the Panthers. That defense is clicking, and I just don't like Mitch Trubisky. He's going to make a mistake. Montgomery's looked great. They've been able to run the ball. Allen Robinson's looked great, but the Saints have too many weapons on defense. They're coached way too well to let the.
This is a coaching mismatch for sure.
To let them not blow this game open.
Mm-hmm.
All right, no answer from me. The only thing I have to say is that the Bears, they play better on the road than they do at home. 5-3 away, 3-5 at home. The Saints, the numbers that you mentioned earlier, not great when they're the home favorite. 10.5 is a lot of points. That's a lot of points. So I'm going to go contrarian here because faith in the field has worked for pretty much everyone that's bet against you guys this year. I'll take the Bears keeping it close. Yeah, I think they've been hot as of late. Like you said, Dave Montgomery was a playoff savior for a lot of fantasy football teams. I think they can run it. I think they can slow down the game. We don't know about Michael Thomas yet. And, yeah, I think they can keep it close.
I just said that the Saints are 2-9 against the spread in the last 11 as home favorites.
Exactly, and all of you guys took the Saints.
No, it looks like Lib switched to the Bears.
He was the one who wanted to skip this segment, too. Oh, we're just going to do the Saints and jump right over it.
Chris convinced
I know. The more I've heard so much, it's come up so often how bad the Saints are at covering the spread later in the year and especially in the playoffs. And 10.5 is a lot. And while this Bears offense has not been anything special, they've been able to put up some points here. I do like the over here as well in the dome, and I'll take the 10.5 here.
Wow. Okay. Little split ski there. Nice.
I like it.
All right.
Let's skip on to the next segment.
Yeah, let's just jump over to the next one.
The worst playoff matchup of the worst division in football.
The two doghouse teams of the podcast, the Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are favored at 5.5 at home. Over under is 47.
I'm going to lead with my stat that jumped off the page to me. We have a 7-9 team in the playoffs right now. The only team in the playoffs. This includes a 7-9 football team. The only team in the playoffs with a negative point differential. The
Browns.
Well, Chris, it's funny.
Overrated.
You've called both these teams frauds this year, so I'm curious where you're going.
I've been so off on the Browns all season. They are frauds. They do not win the big game, and the Steelers are made for this. The Steelers are at home. The Steelers have the experience. They have the coaching experience. They have the quarterback experience. It's just a matter of getting their wide receivers on board, get Juju not dancing on whatever. Oh, wait, it's going to be the Steelers logo in the center. Maybe.
Oh, you can dance on that.
Yeah. I don't think that the Browns have a prayer. I will give the 5.5. I think the Steelers win this one pretty easily. I think it's a 2-touchdown game, the majority of the game.
Aggressive.
Yeah.
I'll jump in. I think that I'm going to pick the Steelers as well with Chris. I think what it really comes down to, and this isn't even a coaching staff difference. I know the coaching staff of the Browns has COVID. The Steelers kept it to a 2-point game last week, and they didn't have Big Ben. They didn't have T.J. Watt. They didn't have Cam Hayward. They didn't have some offensive linemen. They played their B-plus team and still.
And this is the A-plus league.
Yeah. And on the road in Cleveland, almost won the game, lost by 2 points. So Steelers got their key stars a little bit of rest, and they're going to come into the playoffs. I think way too many people are down on the Steelers. I honestly think the Steelers are great to win the AFC Championship bet. I'm a little worried that the defense isn't as good as it was with Bud Dupree out and all that, but Minkah Fitzpatrick and Joe Hayden, that secondary is elite. Give me the Steelers.
Last 2 times the Browns have been in the playoffs, they faced the Steelers.
Lost to the Steelers.
Pittsburgh, and have lost both times to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the last time actually was 2003 in the Wildcard, and the Steelers it was a close game. They lost by 3 to the Browns. But Steelers, like you said, defense is by far way too good to not let this cover. I think they did stumble into the playoffs, but they did show pretty well against the Browns last week and almost pretty much beat them. In a must-win game by the Browns. So I just don't think the Steelers, the Browns have the weapons without OBJ, and even though they have the running backs, the defensive front for the Pittsburgh defense is too good. Steelers in the points.
Losing Olivier Vernon last week is going to hurt the Browns defense a lot too. And I was somewhat excited for this game when I thought that the Browns would have their coaching staff and good pass rusher, but everything you guys have said, they kept it within 2 points last week with all the starters out. This coaching is now going to be a huge gap between these two. I just don't think the Browns can keep up with the Steelers here.
Okay. I'm shocked from the resident Bengals fan.
They have to have like some sort of booth or suite where all the coaches can just go in there, right?
Yeah, I don't know how they don't just rent out a room in the hotel or in the
stadium.
Yeah,
because they don't allow external. Yeah, they're not allowing they tried to do that for the Bills a few weeks ago, and they wouldn't allow them to do it then, and now they're not allowing the Cleveland staff to do it. It's fucking stupid.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Well, it should be an interesting round of the playoffs. At this point, I hope you faded our picks, but this week it's different. It's the playoffs. We're zoned in.
Does everyone have a lock?
Libinati, how about you lead it off?
I'm going to lock up the Steelers against the Browns. I don't see, like I said 2 weeks ago with the Steelers against the Colts, I just think that this is a good organization and playoff experience. They're going to
win.
Okay.
I'll let you go. Lock up those Colts.
All righty. I will not lock up the Colts. I am actually going to lock up the Titans. Plus 3.5.
I like it. And since you guys went that way, because I was going to go Steelers, I think that's by far the easiest game. I am going to go.
You going with Tampa? Tampa Tom?
I'm going to go with the guy that has the best playoff stats in the world. He's proven something. He's trying to prove they can win without Belichick. Let's see him do it. He's a good football team.
Just because we have a Patriots fan on does not mean you need to spend the entire podcast ball washing Brady, please.
He is not even in the room.
Yeah, the guest picker has left the room. So that will take us to over-unders, I guess.
I mean, who wants to hit any under?
I'm going to start. I'm going to take the Colts-Bills under.
Yeah.
Under 51. I just think it's going to be a cold game. I think the offenses are going to be slow-moving. I think it's going to be hard to connect on the deep balls, the way that the teams will scheme each other. And I know the Bills have been putting up a tremendous amount of points, so I'm a little worried about it. But I think that's my favorite bet on the board.
I don't want to take the over in the highest scoring game, highest over under game, but I'm going to take the over in the Ravens Titans, just because I think the Ravens will score some fourth quarter points and make it a good game.
And I will take the under in the AFC North matchup between the Browns and the Steelers. 47. It's not a lot of points, but.
Woof.
These games always end up with low scores.
Everyone taking unders. Give me an over.
I'll give you an over. I like the over. I'm going to fight Bird on this one. I love the over in the Bills-Colts game. We need some fireworks to start the season off, start the playoffs.
I said I'm worried about it. It's definitely, I mean, the Bills have been
clear conditions out there.
Yeah, but it's going to be frigid. I just think the teams are going to run the ball. And
35 is not frigid.
Are you going to take the Bills as your lock as well?
Yes. Yeah, we'll lock in the Bills. I think that this game's going to be 35-28. 7-point victory for the Bills.
They went from 2 touchdown favorites earlier to 7 because it works for the over.
Yeah, let's go backdoor one. We're going to have Bird and I sweating this one out. The Colts going to backdoor the over for me.
Oh, boy. That'll be a good one. No, I'm excited for that game. I think the 2 early games for both days are the best games of the week for sure. The other ones are, whatever.
I like it.
Watch. The Bills will backdoor the over and fuck him on the spread. That's what's going to happen.
Can you believe that Tom Brady carries so much weight, even not playing for the Patriots, that the 7-9 Washington football team gets the prime time slot on Saturday night because Tom's playing? I think that's the only reason. Why else would you put?
Yeah, MVP candidate playing for the Bills right now, at quarterback, and they're going to put the 7-9 Washington football team.
Fuck! I forgot that's the night game. That's past Brady's bedtime. He's so bad in these night games this year.
Change to the football team. Change it.
Hey, last time he played a primetime game this year, he barely beat the Giants. Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that'll do it for our playoff edition, Week 1, Wildcard round. Make sure to tune in next week. We will have the divisional round where we get in the Packers, the Chiefs, Oh, wow, that's it, Packers and Chiefs. I forgot. It's a different format this year, so we're missing 2 teams from the slate this week. Okay. Do we have any Doghouse people from last week who fucked the bet? We never talked about that. The Doghouse, to fill Chris in, and for anyone who hasn't paid attention to the show this year, are people that have royally screwed the spread, so they're now in our Doghouse. For instance, Nick Chubb, when the Cleveland Browns were up 3 and were laying 3.5, and he had a touchdown run but ran out of bounds at the 1-yard line.
I don't have a doghouse for that. I have actually 2 doghouses, though, for college football. So my brother and I, we bet on the Notre Dame-Alabama game, and we took Alabama. We laid the points. So I have to blame Nick Saban for getting that personal foul call on one of the late Notre Dame drives, and then Ian Book, obviously, for running in the score to cover the spread.
Well, you should have texted me because I bet Alabama first half because that happens to Alabama all the fucking time. Backdoor covers like crazy. So those are good doghouses, though. That's definitely the spirit of the
So I went even. I had Alabama first half and game, but first half covered the game.
Yeah. No, that's a perfect doghouse. We will have one for the playoffs, I am sure.
The biggest doghouse is it the Eagles benching their time?
Yeah.
That's why I was going to go.
Hurts out.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine Brady playing the Giants in the playoffs in the first round?
Oh, wow. That would have been great. They really
been
killed it. I mean, Doug Peterson's already been on the doghouse once this year, so we can put him in again if we want.
Yeah.
That one was
He's brutal with the spread.
He's my dark horse.
We can go with the Texans. The Texans defense. I don't even know how they give up that field goal, but.
Oh, the doinker? Yeah, the A.J. Brown catch and then the doinker to not cover, yeah.
Yeah, it was Eagles would be the worst one, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, next week we can start off with the doghouse segment and find someone from this first round of playoff games. But in the meantime, good luck with all your bets this weekend. Hopefully you cash in the money. If you listen to any of us, hopefully it's Chris, because as our records have shown this year, we're not very good at picking. So good luck with your bets. Enjoy the weekend.
Guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
If you do well, we'll have you back next week.
I picked against Nick most of them, so I think I'm going to do great.
The leader.
There we go.
Hey, that's 55%.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening in. Remember to like, subscribe, share it around, and help us grow the podcast. So thanks for listening.
See ya.